Marvelous hello, friends and loved ones! How are you today? And welcome to another July 17th, the anniversary of my very first video. Whether you're brand new to the channel or you've been around since day one, I have something of a tradition with these anniversaries, where I talk about Glover, and then a wrestling game, and then Glover, and then a wrestling game, and so on and so forth. So for the fourth time now, I think we should talk about some Glover. And with this being the 6th anniversary of my channel, we're going to be taking a look at 6 very special levels. Now, I've already looked at Glover on the N64, and I've looked at Glover on the PlayStation, but I realized that while in both of those videos I briefly touched upon the 6 different worlds in Glover, Atlantis World, Circus World, Pirate World, Prehistoric World, Fortress of Fear, and Out of This World, I never really talked all that much about the actual levels in Glover. Well, today I aim to fix that by highlighting the 3 best and 3 worst levels in Glover. But before I get officially started, let's lay down a couple of ground rules. First, all of my decisions are based on the N64 version of the game. While the PlayStation version has a few highlights of its own, I think the N64 one is the better polished experience and brings mechanics that just didn't exist on the PlayStation that can give certain levels a bit of an edge. Secondly, while each of Glover's 6 worlds technically has 5 levels in it, I'm not going to be considering any world's boss fight or bonus stage. Because if I were, let's be real here, the worst list would just be the 3 worst bonus stages. And honestly, even if I were counting boss fights, I don't think any of them are good or bad enough to make either list anyway. Well, maybe this guy would make the worst list. So, for those of you that are bad at math, don't worry, I am too, that leaves us with 18 normal levels I've taken into consideration for this video. But which of these managed to leave the biggest impressions on both sides of the spectrum? Hey, before we begin, if you like what I do, please consider subscribing. It genuinely does help the channel out a lot and lets me keep making content. Thank you.
Yes!
Alright, I'll admit I'm slightly biased because I am a huge fan of cartoony horror. Things like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Coraline, and Scooby-Doo are absolutely my jam. And spooky worlds tend to be some of my favorites in video games as well. Like Pumpkin Hill Zone, even though that may mostly just be due to its sweet jam.
Ask him a question and he vanished in a second. I'm walking through valleys, crying pumpkin in the alley. Didn't seem happy, but they sure tried to get me. Had to back him up with...
The point is, Glover's Fortress of Fear world is one that definitely appeals to me aesthetically, but I'd say the best level is Fortress of Fear 3. I thought about going with level 2 since it's the only indoor level and therefore doesn't have the annoying lightning flashes every few seconds, but level 3 is just so much better and still has some pretty fun little moments in it, like the giant beach ball puzzle. This is also one of the longer levels in the game, so you might actually feel like you're getting enough bang for your buck when you get through this last level in the Fortress of Fear. This one admittedly might not be very fair, and you could reasonably argue there are worse, or at least more annoying levels. Atlantis World 1 is an incredibly short and incredibly linear level. The hazards are minor, the puzzles are minimal, and the challenge is virtually non-existent. Because of all of that, it's boring. I think the first level of a platformer can say a lot about what kind of an experience the audience can expect from it. Things like Bob-omb Battlefield from Mario 64 or Mumbo's Mountain from Banjo-Kazooie leave a lasting impression on gamers, and I think even the most die-hard Glover fans will have trouble defending what is essentially a kiddie pool in more than one sense of the phrase. You could argue that it's a tutorial stage meant to ease players into the mechanics without overloading them, but Glover already has a perfectly good one of those in the hub world. I genuinely found the optional tutorial stage to be a more fun and memorable first level than this one, and that's not really a good sign.
Yes!
If I were to give an award for the single best world in Glover, it'd probably be Pirate World. Each stage is different and adds to the overall pirate aesthetic with some fun touches. Like, I love that you have these enemies that are swords, and Glover can grab hold of them and control them like swords, right down to using them to kill other enemies. Pirate World is great, but I'm not highlighting one specific world. I've got to talk about the second best level, and to me, that's Pirate World 3. The nighttime ambiance of this dockside town is already fantastic, and just like a real historic town, it's loaded with secrets and treasures for those who are willing to look for them. Aside from the fun atmosphere and secret paths, you've got some nice platforming challenges that utilize the ball mechanics well, and in my opinion, one of the best music tracks in the entire game as well. Except for the seagull solo. That probably could have been left out. Like many of you, I enjoyed the occasional game of The Floor is Lava when I was a lad. For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept, the floor is lava. It was a game where you hopped around on couches, coffee tables, and anything else you could to avoid touching the floor. It was a good time. You know what I don't think would have made it better? Having to dribble a basketball as you avoid touching the floor, like Prehistoric World 3 does. Okay, now, to be fair, Level 2 does this as well, but Level 3's uses of it are just generally worse. And even if you're not terrible at controlling Glover, like I is, the parts of this stage where you're not hoping you don't bounce slightly off base or your ball doesn't roll slightly farther than you anticipated aren't the best either. From trying to work around these rotating blocks to this repetitive lightning Stonehenge puzzle, the big finale to this stage is this slow-moving elevator. It's dumb, and I just don't really like it that much. Yes! Circus World 1 is the best level in Glover. That's it. There's no build-up, there's no punchline. This is Glover's best level. I already really like Circus World in general, but there's so much fun to be had here. From the elephant balloon enemies you have to pop with the spikes, to the trampoline floors and the juggling chickens, you get to play a fun little game of whack-a-mole with the enemies, and then once you reach the end of the stage, you're faced with a veritable playground of games and activities. There's a pachinko machine you can use by turning your ball into the ball bearing, a fun little test your strength game you can win with the help of magic potions, you've got a slot machine, and then there's this guy. You can just jump on him and bounce around as much as you like. I know some of this is definitely nostalgia talking, but I loved this stage as a kid. I remember even after I'd beaten Glover, this is the one stage I kept wanting to come back to because I just always had fun with it, and that's what makes a best level in my opinion. It's just fun. And the worst level should come as no surprise if you are even remotely familiar with Glover. Out of This World 2. What's so bad about this level, you may ask? At the very start of the stage, there's this ball switch that opens the door to the exit. That's great. Then throughout the stage, there are other switches that need to be hit, most notably this one that gets these walls to start opening and closing, and then this one to raise a ramp. By the time you do this, you've probably noticed that the door to the exit has long since closed. This is where the frustration kicks in. See, the ball switch to open the exit door is on a super strict time limit, and if you get stuck at these opening and closing doors for even a moment, you probably aren't going to make it through. Yeah, the level is basically just a straight line, but one that requires you to have near perfect timing by lining yourself up with a moving obstacle that you can't see from the ball switch where you need to start your perfect timing run. If you watch virtually any long play of Glover on YouTube, you may notice they tend to just kind of glitch their way through this one, because doing it legitimately is just not a good time. A slightly longer time limit, and this could have been a decent little level, but as it stands now, it is the worst. And if Pico Interactive ever gets around to finishing Glover HD, I'm really hoping they'll have the good sense to make this stage a bit more bearable. And there you have it, the best and worst levels in Glover. I didn't go into this intending to feature one level from each world, but let's call that a happy little accident, shall we? So, what do you all think? Is there any particular level you think deserve to be on either list? Do you disagree with any of my choices? Are you completely sick and tired of hearing me talk about Glover? Do you have any suggestions for future Glover videos? No matter what your thoughts are, I want to hear them. So long as they're about Glover, so head on down to that comment section and let me know what you think about Glover. And that's gonna wrap up another anniversary video. I don't know why I've made this my yearly tradition, but I still have fun with it, and hopefully all of you are as well. I just want to give a quick thank you to everybody who watches my content, everyone who comments, whether this is the first video of mine you've seen or the 100th, it doesn't matter. Thank you all so much for your support. It lets me keep doing what I love doing, and I'm just incredibly thankful for that. And I just want to say before I go that I glove each and every one of you. Because I had to say that. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, be sure to click like, but if you really liked it, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Extra special thanks to all my friends and loved ones over on Patreon, which you can pledge to today to see your own name in these ending credits. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.